Hey guys, how's it going? Wanted to take a second to address some questions that I've had about grades for the quarter, for the semester, for the year. Obviously, I know this has kind of been a weird setup, and I'm sure you guys, no matter what, are concerned about grades and GPAs and how this is going to affect things for the year. And I know it's been harder in some cases to get assignments done and do work. I got an email from the district kind of with some of their guidelines or advice, and some of it was kind of unclear. But here's kind of what my plan to do is, and then you guys can kind of let me know if that's acceptable to you, if you feel like you have some issues or concerns with that. Um, as far as I'm concerned, the grading for quarter four plans to be kind of on a pass-fail basis. So you'll either receive a satisfactory or an S for satisfactory work, and or a U for unsatisfactory work. The district has instructed me to, if people, if for some reason we can't get in contact with people, there are other things to do with that. But for the most part, most of you guys have, I've heard from you at some point. You've checked your email, you responded to an email. Whether or not I've gotten work from you might be a different thing. But that's it, satisfactory or unsatisfactory. And what I'm looking for in terms of satisfactory, I know um, right now there are point values attached to assignments. And that really is more designed as a scale to help me give you feedback on how you're doing. And that is not really designed to relate or equate to this satisfactory or unsatisfactory idea. My kind of understanding of what it's going to mean to do satisfactory work during this time period is that you guys successfully engage in the content that I'm putting out for you guys. All right. Now, sometimes successfully engaging doesn't mean we always do well. That friction quiz, some of us might have bombed that. But the fact that you spent the time to watch the video and sit down there and work through the problem and try to work through stuff, to me that's very, very satisfactory. Keep that in mind as I try to give you guys feedback with those points. Don't look at those points as what's ultimately going to determine your grade. I'm looking for your engagement. Some things I need for you guys to do for me that's going to showcase engagement is one, you participate in the assignments and activities. So whether it be the Rube Goldberg, you engage and participate in that, whether it be some homework that I put out for you, or an activity or a video that I want you to watch, or a lab I want you to do, that you guys engage in those things. And I know it's not going to be perfect. I know different people are going to have different obstacles with that. But obviously, it shouldn't be too hard for me to tell that there was effort and engagement and thought put into it. One of the things I said at the start of the year was I need you guys to engage in the process of learning and trust that I'm going to be fair in the way I evaluate. Okay, and hopefully I've been fair up to this point. And my goal is to continue to be fair and, again, accommodating and understanding considering the circumstances. Engaging in the activities that I put out there for you. I'm not putting out too many. I'm trying to give you, 1.5 to 2 a week. For you to work on, which is a reasonable amount based on the circumstances. Just for you to, if you so choose, which I would encourage you to do on a daily basis, find 5, 10, 15 minutes to engage in an activity, to engage in an assignment, to really just mentally put some thought into some of the content that I'm trying to teach you, I'm trying to give you. Okay? So that's kind of what that looks like. Okay, if you are not doing that in a timely fashion, then obviously there are some concerns there. If we're 4 weeks in and we still haven't turned in the first assignment, that might be an issue. If we maybe turn in 1 out of 3 or even 1 out of 2 assignments and really don't even touch or respond or do anything with the others, that could be an issue in terms of a satisfactory versus unsatisfactory. Obviously, stuff happens. And so sometimes our ability to do things in the time that I give you isn't feasible. And that's where I expect communication on your part. So all these deadlines I'm putting out are soft deadlines. If I say something's due, say, hey, you have that lab due Wednesday. Well, that was kind of giving you a guideline of, hey, you should probably be able to work through this by this time. If you're not, that's okay. But it would be nice that in that process, hey, Mr. Hunt, just so you know, I'll probably get this to you a couple days late, and then voila, that ends up showing up through communication, maybe by a Sunday or a Saturday or even the following Monday. And that's no big deal. I'm totally okay with that, but that's just stuff that you need to communicate with me. I need to understand where we're having a disconnect between the assignments I ask you to do and then the assignments that you turn in. Because if there's no communication and there's no submission, then to me, that shows a lack of desire to do what's being asked of you and to engage in the content. And that's where we start to get into the gray area of what's going to happen with our grade. Okay, so at the end of the semester, I'll look at those grades and I'll determine whether or not you guys seem to satisfactorily engage in the content I put out for you, and I'll give you that S or that U. My plan is for those of you guys that got satisfactory grades for quarter four, I will most likely just take quarter one, quarter two, and quarter three, average those 3 quarters, and that will essentially determine your year-long grade, if that makes sense. So your semester grade, your for second semester will probably just be your first quarter grade, and your year-long grade will be an average of those first 3 quarters. Now there are some exceptions to that. Okay, like if you maybe just barely managed to pull a D or a C for the first 3 quarters, and I felt like your effort and engagement for quarter four just went way above and beyond what I would expect out of a CD student in my class based on what I've seen for the first 3 quarters of the year, then the amazing thing is I have the luxury and the opportunity to extend some grace and to bump that final grade up for the semester or for the year. And so I can reward your efforts during this time if I felt like that effort seemed to go beyond what I had come to expect from you over the first 3 quarters of the year. Okay, so there is an opportunity to, if you did poorly semester one, or if you did poorly even in third quarter, for just kind of the effort that you put into these current 9 weeks to really leave a good lasting impression on me, because ultimately I decide what your final grades are. I can do, they are subjective and up to my kind of discretion in terms of the effort I think you put in and how I think you engage with the content. So that's an opportunity for you guys to showcase something different. All right. If you have done really, really well for the first 3 quarters of the year, then my guess is you're going to be fine. What I don't want you to do is stress about, oh man, I don't want to end up with a B for fourth quarter and that bring my grade down. That's not going to happen. My guess is your desire to engage in content, your enjoyment of some of the content, and just your diligence as a learner are going to more than do enough to showcase what I think is far more than necessary for a satisfactory grade for this quarter. Okay, so what I don't want you to do is stress that. I don't want you to nitpick every T and every I and to really focus on, oh my gosh, am I going to get an A or a B or a C on this? Because satisfactory in my mind is just your ability to engage with the content. In some cases, it's not going to gauge the success we have, because we're always going to fail at things. That's just going to happen. That's okay. I do think, again, like I've been preaching all year long, there's value in the process of failure and not doing well. And so even if you're not succeeding, the fact that we're putting effort in and not doing well, to me is still a satisfactory result in my mind. And I know that's hard for some of you guys, especially for you perfectionists out there, but that's how it is. Okay. So keep that in mind, be encouraged. Don't stress that stuff. All right. If you are continuing to work through things I asked you to do, wrestling with those a little bit, struggling with those, maybe not, hitting home runs, maybe not hitting out of the park on all of them, maybe just failing miserably at some of those things, that's okay. The truth is I'm sure you guys are engaging in the content, and that is doing more than enough to achieve that satisfactory grade in my book. Okay, so that's some encouragement there. If you are on the other side of things, if you're someone that is not engaging in the content, that's not turning in assignments, that's not completing things at all, or really not in a timely manner. Maybe you're doing 1 of 3 or 1 of 2 assignments and they're not super great at best. You're not really communicating, things like that. Then that's probably going to earn you an unsatisfactory for the quarter. Now, in that case, that will definitely come down to some tricky judgments in terms of looking at third quarter and what third quarter looked like, and then looking at the first semester. So, obviously, if you were one of my top-notch students for the first 3 quarters, and I felt like you were someone that put in really good effort consistently. And what I don't want is for this craziness to be something that gets in the way of that. I know that we all have kind of gone home to different life situations and different obstacles. And so I know that's made things kind of hard. And in light of that, I want to obviously be considerate of that reality. And I don't want to punish you guys for those types of things. So I do think no matter what, you should have the opportunity to do some of this content and to give me some feedback on how things are going and what you're learning and what this looks like for you in terms of physics. But I understand that that's not super possible for all of us. Okay, and so that will be a little bit more tricky in terms of evaluating grades. But if we get to the end of the quarter and we're kind of close to that unsatisfactory line, that'll be an opportunity for me to reach out, even for you to reach out and to see if we can work something out. And we'll talk about what we think seems fair in terms of how things went in first quarter, second quarter, how things went third quarter, and then what to do with your grade. Obviously, I'm not trying to catch anybody or punish anybody. I want to reward and evaluate, and I want to do it fairly, and I want to do it graciously with you guys. So that'll be a conversation that you and I can have personally to kind of decide what we think is fair, what we think is best, and for you to kind of give me your case. Because I'm all ears. I'm all ears. My absolute desire is to see you not only continue to grow in confidence in your ability to learn, but to also enjoy physics and to also feel like that you were treated fairly and with respect and with care and stuff like that. So yeah, if those conversations need to happen, then they will. They'll happen towards the end of the quarter and we can work that out. Okay. But for the rest of you, I really do want to set you guys at ease. I've been getting some kind of concerns and questions just about, hey, what's going to happen to my, my grade's going to tank so hard because I can't do this Rube Goldberg and things like that. And I don't want you to worry about those things. Again, you're, not that I want you to settle for something that is less quality, but I do want you to realize that there's lots and lots of grace here. And so I'm going to continue to put out assignments that have guidelines and restrictions with the expectation that you guys work towards those guidelines, but knowing that it might not happen in all cases. And just because it doesn't happen doesn't mean you guys didn't do what I asked or what I hoped, if that makes sense. Okay? Just because you guys don't meet my guidelines or requirements doesn't mean you weren't able to do what I asked or what I had hoped when giving you this time. That's the most important thing to understand with that. Okay? So if you have further questions going forward, feel free to shoot me an email, ask me. But that's kind of how grades are, hopefully. That's how I'm planning on having grades look. I'd like to think that all you guys are going to do enough to show me that you're kind of periodically engaging with the content in a meaningful way. And obviously, if we're not able to do that, then we'll have to have some of those other hard conversations and figure out kind of what to do going forward. But I think those are fewer of you than you think. Okay, the majority of you guys are doing phenomenally well. Whether or not you're doing great on these homework assignments or on these quizzes, you're still doing a good job putting effort in and engaging in the content I'm giving you. So just keep that in mind. Also, wanted to make one last announcement. It doesn't look like we're going to be going back to school this year. Obviously, there's a possibility, but I really highly doubt it. And so in light of that, I wanted to give you guys some more time to kind of work through Rube stuff. I know people have had questions and they're saying they're struggling finding steps and things like that. But take some more time. I think I added 2 weeks onto that deadline. So now up to May 17th, you guys have. So plenty of time to continue working if you want to put more steps together. People have been asking, saying they can't come up with steps, they don't have the materials and things like that. I think part of the issue with that is that we are taking steps that we see in a video or read online, and we're trying to build those, and we're saying, oh, we don't have the parts for that. And that's not the idea behind this project. The idea behind this project is taking what you have, whether it be leaning up chairs or nice forks and spoons from your kitchen, or maybe your hair dryer or your curling iron or your toothbrush. Taking books that you have sitting around your house or picture frames or decoratives in your house, whatever it might be. It's things that you have that you can repurpose in some unique way to basically be involved in some sort of transformation of energy from one form to another, where we have this elaborate happening of sorts. Okay, so it's really about taking what you have and finding ways to be creative, to make by cutting cardboard and trash and boxes and string and scissors and little knickknacks here and there, things that you can find in your kitchen, in your cupboard, in your pantry, in your bathroom, in your bedroom, in your basement, in your garage, all that kind of stuff. And being able to create from those things, even taking pieces of paper and using paper to do stuff. It's really about that ingenuity. So just keep that in mind. I know that makes it harder, but that's what we're dealing with. Okay, so as you guys create, as you guys work through and design and build these things, think about all that stuff. If you're having trouble, I always recommend start from the back and go to the front. So think about what your final step is going to be that meshes to your theme, and then try to design something that makes that step happen, and then design something that makes that happen, and design something that makes that happen. And then before you know it, you've gone backwards 9, 10 times, and voila, you have your 10 steps and you're in good shape. Okay. So continue to enjoy that. Again, engage in the process, engage in the process of creating, designing, trial and error. That's what I want you to do. I don't want this to be a frustration where you're sitting there crying alone in your basement for hours because it's not working. That is not the goal at all. I do want to see resilience. All right. I want to see creativity. I want to see some perseverance. All right. Because perseverance is what's going to build some character. Right. And I care way more about your character than I do about your grades or your accomplishments scholastically, because I think that character stuff is what's going to last through some of these crazy times. And to be honest, one grade that's a little bit higher, a little bit lower, that's not going to make or break you. Your character is what's going to determine and define who you become. What you end up doing with your life and how well you do it. It's not whether you got an A or a B in a class or a C or a B in a class that's going to determine whether or not you're a great doctor or a good doctor. It's the character of you that's going to determine the kind of doctor you become, or the kind of teacher you become, or the kind of bus driver or carpenter or whatever it might be that you become. It's your character that's going to create those things. So I'll upload this video for you here in a second, and feel free to reach out to me if you're having any questions or concerned or stressed out about this. Hopefully I'll be able to talk you off the ledge a little bit and give you some encouragement, because for the most part, my guess is any student that has been working and is stressed out about these things, you have nothing to worry about, because you are far exceeding my satisfactory requirements in terms of the effort and the thought and the time you're putting into the content I'm giving you. So have a good rest of your day. Maybe I'll see some of you guys at conferences. Take care.